What is up, YouTube? It's SpookyLoopz, and I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. If you've clicked on this video, obviously you saw the title, and I assure you that I'm going to get to the point immediately. I am genuinely concerned for the future of Dead by Daylight. And for the comments again on some of those videos saying that being that I'm a fog whisperer, I'm not allowed to say anything bad about the game, this video is especially for you. Over the last couple of months, Dead by Daylight has become incredibly stale. And it's because I think we're in a content drought in terms of new things coming to the game. Before we get into anything regarding the Skull Merchant, I want to talk to you about how we kind of got here. Back in 2022, the Knight PTB was released, and right off the bat, aesthetically, the Knight looks awesome. You got this Knight with this massive sword, and he's got these 3 guards and stuff like that. So kudos to the art team; they always kill it. The art team for DVD is always fantastic. However, when I actually first played the Knight, a couple of things like stood out to me almost immediately. That he played like shit. He wasn't really fun to play, right? If you didn't get to experience the Knight on the PTB or when he went to live servers, early on in live servers, essentially what he would do is you'd be able to go ahead and summon one of 3 guards that all had different types of roles essentially, and you would put your sword into the ground, you would stay in an idle state, and you would send a waypoint and where you wanted the guard to go to, which was completely visible, the waypoint that is, by the way, the pathing. And then you would have a situation where the survivor would see the waypoint and then go, okay, well, I'm just going to go this way. And then you come out of your idle state, you pull your sword out of the ground, you got a guard going this way, and you got a survivor holding W that way because, of course, like I said, all that stuff was visible, right? Each guard emits a patrol radius, which is also visible by both parties, killer and survivor. So another thing as well, too, is survivors would see that and go, okay, well, I'm just going to go around it or just go somewhere else. So one of the things that I caught on to, and it's not just me, it's, a lot of other people caught on to that as well too, was the most effective way to play the Knight was to essentially chase somebody in shack or whatever structure and instantly plop a guard down, which would nullify the area and force the survivor to go somewhere else. And that's called zoning, right? And it's not really fun for either party, to be honest. Essentially, you're saying hey, I don't want you to go here, so I'm going to use my power and throw a guard here and call it a day, and we'll just go chase somewhere else. So it's super unfun for either side, right? As far as the Knight's perks, I think the Knight's perks are really, really fun. And, you got Nowhere to Hide, which is a fantastic and super effective fun perk where you kick a gen and you see the aura of any survivor within 24 meters, which is always really cool. Hex Face to Darkness is really beneficial on certain killers or different types of playstyles, but ultimately is, incredibly mid. And then Hubris. And the only problem with Hubris is whenever you get stunned, the survivor becomes exposed for a certain period of time, or a short period of time. And but you kind of have to commit to that perk with a full build, Enduring Spirit Fury, stuff like that, which is really, to be honest, the most real effective way to get value from that perk. Aside from that, there wasn't really any, gen defense or regression perks and stuff like that. I think a lot of that stuff helped you more in chase, and I think that's fun. That's the funnest part of the game, right? Is the chase between survivor and killer. As far as Vittorio, yeah, his perks are ass. Not too long after that, it looks like Behavior kind of recognized the issues that everyone was complaining about regarding the Knight. So he received a pretty sizable buff to how he operates. Now, whenever you go ahead and you summon a guard, the waypoint outside of 10 meters, the path that you set outside of 10 meters becomes invisible, which keeps the survivor kind of they don't really know where it's going to go. And you can do a lot of cool stuff where you can send a guard way ahead of, survivors running and be able to kind of cut them off and push them back into you. And then also another thing too is when you come out of the idle state, you pick up haste to kind of make up for lost time while you're just kind of just standing there doing nothing but drawing a line in the ground. And the guards have faster activation. So they aggro a little bit faster, catch up to the survivor a little bit faster, depending on how far they aggroed, which is cool. So all that stuff, as far as from the killer main aspects, is fantastic. Those are things that make the killer more effective. But it creates an entirely new problem on its own, and that it's just not fun to play against. Whenever you have a zoning killer like the Knight, especially depending on the map, but if it's like an indoor map and you have a Knight that cuts you off in a corner and sends a guard one way and then you come the other way, there's not really much a survivor can do. In any type of zoning style of killer, no survivors are really gonna like that. And I do play mostly killer, however I do dabble with survivor, and the few times that I played against Knight, it is extremely unfun to be on the receiving end of that, especially when some players go for a strategy where they keep it really, really tight 3-gen and they just send guards all over the place, and it just drags the game out, because no one wants to play a 25, 30-minute game of Dead by Daylight and just slowly just bleeding and siphoning the life out of you until the game is just over. And I'm not even going to get into the perk stuff, like Call of Brian Eruption. People are saying that gens are too fast, so then killers bring things to slow that down, and it creates this massive divide in between the community and stuff like that. But that's a whole other video. But rest in peace, Eruption, gone too soon. That's where we've kind of been for the last 3 to 4 months. Essentially, the game is just, for me, it's just been really stale and kind of boring. And so whenever a new chapter is on the brink of being released or coming out for us to all playtest, one thing that is for sure about our community, and even though some of our community has differences with each other, one thing is for sure, whenever new content's about to drop, like a teaser trailer or something like that, everyone puts on the tinfoil hats and they all start picking the trailer apart, and we all come together and go, okay, like, finally, we got something new coming to the game, and it's something that we all get really excited about. From a content creator aspect, being able to have new content to showcase and show my audience, it's always really exciting, because then I can make intricate videos and see how some of the new perks have good synergy with some of the older ones, and then be able to offer, sky's the limit with that kind of stuff. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what happened last week when the upcoming Tools of Torment chapter teaser trailer was released on social media. The scene comes in, and you have a workstation with a bunch of tools, and then you hear some robotic pistons or something moving in the background. Then you see a skull light up and stuff like that. So the trailer definitely alludes to a mad scientist or some type of robotic or android type killer, and which has never been done in the game before. So a lot of people got really, really jazzed about it. But what we got was not that at all. Shortly after the trailer dropped, fast forward a couple days, on Wednesday, February 15th, the PTB for Tools of Torment went live on Steam. And we got to see the Skull Merchant for the first time ever, and it definitely wasn't a robotic style killer. A lot of people, including myself, when we got to see the new killer, the Skull Merchant, for the first time, were a little shocked, because it wasn't really what we were anticipating at all. First impressions of the killer was, okay, like, they have, is this a Predator ripoff? Like, what exactly is this? But that's not really the problem that I have, is what, she looks like aesthetically. It's more of how she plays. Now, I know it's just a PTB. However, I did spend 2 days on the PTB playing the new killer and stuff like that. And there's already been leaked stuff regarding how they're going to change some of her powers and cooldowns and things like that. The King, which is another awesome DVD creator, has already made a video discussing the potential leaks for what is going to be changed when the killer hopefully hits live servers, or a patch coming hopefully sooner than later down the road. I'll link his YouTube down in the description. He makes good stuff. Give the guy a sub. Every PTB or new chapter that comes out, I have covered on my channel the last 2 years. And of course, I want to be excited about this kind of stuff, because we're finally getting, hopefully, a breath of fresh air, something that's going to be a little bit different, and hopefully break us out of this stale drought that we're in regards to fun in the game. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's like, we play this game for fun, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And so, of course, as I'm playing the Skull Merchant for the first time, I'm trying to be enthusiastic about it. I'm trying to, there's a lot of cogs moving. I'm trying to figure out the power and stuff like that. And the video that you watched, if you did watch it, regarding the most recent PTB, those videos that's the first match. This is my live reaction. That's the first time me playing them and everything every time, so I can kind of jump in there with you guys and experience it. We can experience it together for the first time. But as I played her throughout the day, I started getting incredibly disappointed. At the start of the trial, the Skull Merchant has 4 drones, which is what her power is, that you can throw up into the air and use them to track survivors with this little tracker iPad shuffle thing, whatever it is, this little phone. Now you can activate your drones. They do go on a cooldown, but after being active for so long, the drones will go into kind of like a sleeper detection mode, where they kind of just hang out for a little bit. And if a survivor comes in the radius, then they'll spawn back up, and you get a notification when someone is stepping in your drone. But if they stay in the radius long enough, they have a lock-on feature where you're able to track the survivor for a brief amount of time on your little tablet. Now, a lot of this can be happening while you're in chase with somebody else, where there's a survivor that's being tracked, 100 meters away or whatever. And it's cool to be able to see them, but you can't really do anything about it at the moment. Also, while you're looking at your device, you do lose speed, so you slow down a little bit, which really doesn't make any sense, because it's not like you're winding up a hatchet or something that's going to have some lethality to it. It's very subtle, but you definitely slow down when you look at the tablet. So another thing that happens as well too is, while the drone is active, and if survivors decide to stay in that drone's detection radius for a certain amount of time, they become exposed. You can then hopefully capitalize on that. It's very situational. Survivor gets exposed, just like any other exposed perk in the game. They're going to try to go and find safe passage anywhere else they can go and use every resource possible And the exposed status effect is only, I think, for like 20 seconds or something like that. It's not anything incredibly long. Another thing that's incredibly disappointing that I found is being that the Skull Merchant's power and only power is these drones. Survivors can go up to a drone and they can deactivate them. They're given a sequence of buttons that they have to mimic, which is incredibly easy. Then the drone essentially dies and returns back to you. And in return, the survivor gets a claw trap on their arm, which allows you to then be able to track them on your tablet phone thing. But it can be easily removed simply by putting in another sequence of buttons, or literally just waiting, and it eventually will stop tracking you. Anyway, and depending on where this happens, you could be chasing somebody, and then this could be across map where this whole ordeal is happening, where they're deactivating your drone, or there's a claw trap, and you're not going to break chase from that survivor to go run halfway across the world to go find them. By the time you get there, the tracker's gone anyway, right? Another feature that the Skull Merchant has is while the drone is active and you are in the radius, by the way, the drone emits a red radius around it that both survivors and killer can see. I think it's a little intense sometimes, and some survivors can really hide behind it depending on how you're looking at it, which is essentially a power that's working against you. But once the Skull Merchant is inside of an active drone, they become undetectable for a short period of time, and it also lingers when you leave for a short period. It's kind of like how the Demogorgon emerges from a portal and is undetectable for a brief amount of time. So here's what we have. We have a killer that has a tracking capability, has an exposed capability, and also has a stealth capability. But the problem is, she's not good at any of them. So what I'm most worried about is we have yet another zoning style killer, again, that is not fun to play as, and it's not really that fun to play against. It's nothing that's really intriguing or interactive for both parties. Just a basic killer that has really no chase appeal and doesn't do anything extraordinary or anything that's really, really fun, right? It's kind of similar to what the Knight is, where a survivor can see the active drone and they can go, okay, well, I don't really want to go to this area because I don't want to deal with it. So you're, again, zoning a survivor. She especially hits maximum boredom when you get to the end of a match where there's one generator remaining and you have all 4 drones and you're more isolated, especially if you're holding down a 3-gen or something like that. Got the Knight problem all over again. You just set up your drones all over the place and you can always track them. It draws the match out. It takes forever to finish a game. And that, again, is not what we need. It's not what we want. But whatever killer's bad, right? At least we can rely on their teachable perks and maybe use those perks to make our previous killers more fun to play with or have some cool synergy with, new and old perks. But those aren't really that good either. The first perk that she has is called Thwack, which is after you hook a survivor, the perk becomes active for 75 seconds. Whenever you break a wall or kick a pallet, all survivors within 32 meters of you, their aura is shown for a brief amount of time. The issue that I have with that is chances are the only time you're breaking a pallet or a wall is when you're in chase. In the vast majority of the time, you already know where that person is while you're chasing them anyway. So by seeing an aura of somebody else hiding behind a tree or doing a gen nearby, it's not really incredible useful information, as your primary focus right now is the person you're chasing. You're not going to leave and go over there and go see what they're doing, right? That would be a really bad use of your time. So again, that perk gets outshined by other chase perks like I'm all ears, or even Nowhere to Hide, for instance, that has no cooldown. Her second perk that she has is called Leverage. For every time you hook a survivor, you gain a token, and that token reduces the healing speed for all survivors by 5%. For 30 seconds after you hook a survivor. Maxes out at 10 tokens. By the time you get the 10 tokens, that's 10 hooks. Chances are, well, not chances are, that's how math works. 2 people are already dead. That's just how it is. So when you're in a 2 versus 1 situation, are you ever going to be relying on a survivor having a super, super slow heal time? Again, very situational. You're probably going to be getting the most value out of that perk when you're running other anti-healing perks, Color Phobia, Sloppy Butcher, Hex Pentimento, things like that. Her last teachable perk is called Game Afoot. It is an obsession-based perk. So whenever you're chasing your obsession, whenever you kick a pallet or a generator or a breakable wall, you gain a 5% boost in speed for 10 seconds, which is not the worst thing in the world. It's okay, I suppose. So we have a killer that is a zoning killer that isn't fun to play as, isn't fun to play against. And then we have perks that just suck. So what is there really to be excited about going forward for the next 90 days until something happens? In terms of the survivor perks, though, I don't really have a big problem with really any of them but one. And it's exclusively from the newest survivor, Renato. And the perk is called Background Player. One of the biggest things that has always been notoriously complained about yeah, which is it still poses a big problem within the game, is tunneling and camping, right? So what this perk does is whenever you go and rescue a survivor off the hook, it's an exhaustion perk. You are granted with a boost of speed at 150% haste for 6 seconds. So essentially what you do is you come up, unhook the survivor that's already in an incredibly vulnerable spot, and then go, peace out, I got shit to do, and you just zoom away. So if a killer sees someone coming for a save that has that perk, they're going to be met with a relatively easy decision. One option, you're going to have a survivor that's, you know, zooming off at Mach 1 for 6 seconds, and then you're going to see an injured survivor that just got off the hook. It's already in a bad spot. You just got to wait out endurance so you can go back for them again. It just doesn't make any sense. It completely works against what everyone is trying to have get fixed, which is the tunneling problem in DBD. If anything, it incentivizes you to go after the person that just got off the hook, because why would you want to go and chase after the person that just zoomed off into the night? I don't know if the game has lost touch with what the community is asking for or what they want, but like that just blows me away. As far as Skull Merchant's Mori goes, I don't know one person that thinks that Mori is cool. It just seems incredibly rushed and lazy, and that just goes the same overall with the chapter. I'm not saying we have to have it like, you know, an insane Mori, but like it just seems like based on what happens and the first time experiencing it, you're kind of just left with just like, that's it? Like that's all we got, you know? A lot of people are saying it's a reskinned sexy Freddy, but we don't have to have a new map every single time a chapter comes out. We already have plenty of maps as it is, but they repurposed Shelter Woods and added a main building, or I guess a main area, because the structure itself is not that huge. But they repurposed that, and they switched some things around in the map, which is okay. But it also seems like it was like, oh shit, we have something new coming. Let's just go put the structure here, and boom, we'll just slap it, fix it up. Okay, now that's gonna be the Skull Merchant's map. It all just seems incredibly rushed to me, and I don't know what they're rushing for. I don't know what it is, but it's just, I would much rather have them come out and say, hey, we're gonna delay our upcoming chapter by X amount of time because we want to give you the best product that we can give you. All the stuff with the perks and how the killer plays in the power and all that stuff just combined, it just leaves you such a bad taste in your mouth. Where it's just like, why would somebody want to come back and keep playing it, you know? You want to release content where you can have someone that's never experienced the game before to see that and go, you know what? I want to play as that. I want to be involved in this. What's so baffling to me is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is going to be a 4 versus 3 ASIM game, by the way, is right around the corner. And I think that's going to be the only game that's really going to be able to challenge and rival Dead by Daylight. I hope it is. I hope it does. Imagine that, being able to play Killer with 2 of your other buddies versus 4 other players. That's never really been done before. That's going to be awesome to play as. I know BHVR is committed to releasing new chapters essentially like every quarter. And unless we're on the brink of the most monumental 7-year anniversary of all time, and hopefully we get some banger chapter that comes out, I don't foresee the game lasting that long just by simply releasing a new characters, and that's it. Like there's got to be, something's got to give, something's got to change, because at the end of the day, the game is in decline, and that sucks. You know, because I don't want it to be in decline. I don't think any of us want it to be. Coming from the night and then moving into the Skull Merchant and stuff like that is incredibly hard for me, and I know a lot of others, to be excited about that. And this is going to be our game. This is what we're going to be playing for the next 3 to 4 months until something new happens and shakes things up and offers something that's fun. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want it to be fun to play. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but me personally, I am concerned for the future of this game. Because I wanted to do great. I wanted to stay healthy and bring in the new player base and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Would love to hear your side and your take and what your perspective is and what you're hoping the game will do in the future and what you ultimately think of the new chapter coming out. By the way, if you made this part of the video and you are not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. We are very close to almost 500,000 subscribers, which is insane. Takes 2 seconds, helps the channel out a whole lot, and you'll be able to stay on top of all the new videos I got coming out. That's pretty much it. I just want us all to have fun. That's all. Catch you on the next one.